major problems plaguing Cameroon towns and cities nowadays, a phenomenon which seems to be in a steady rise. It is difficult to understand some of irregularities happening in our major towns like Douala and Yaoundé. And today we are asking the question, are the regulatory mechanisms of urban disorder inefficient, or who is not doing what to stop the disorder in our various towns? If you are just joining us, you are watching 360 Degrees on Canada International, and we shall be with you for over an hour. Stay with us. You're welcome back. And with me, I have three gentlemen in the studio, which you are going to meet as right now. Begin from my right, where I have Emmanuel Ndiwum. Emmanuel Ndiwum is of the civil society. You've been here before, and it's a pleasure to have you here again.
Thank you very much for renewing the confidence on this program. It's once more a pleasure. And I think that when duty calls at any time for us to come and share the knowledge we have with other citizens of the nation, it becomes a duty. And of course, out of that duty, it's also a responsibility to answer present so that we can take Cameroon a step forward from all the ills that are plaguing Cameroon. And such of the ills in a point in time is the topic of discussion today, which I really appreciate you for the choice of that topic. It's a topic that we need to be taking, in fact, that we need to take an in-depth into it because it's really worrisome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. We shall be coming back to you. I move by your right. You have Solomon Focham. He's a development activist, one of the nation builders. He carries an advocacy for good governance.
It's a pleasure to be here as well, and I think it's also a great opportunity for participating here. So first of all, I'd like to know, I had to ask it, off here, you have a very rare first name. Could you give us the pronunciation of your first name, please?
Okay, my name is Hyson Shah.
Hyson Shah.
Yes.
Wonderful. That's great. So, Mr. Shah, it's a great thing to be here, and I'm happy that we are here with the doctor, and we are here with another great guy, the teacher, and that the program is going to be a success for everybody.
Thank you so much. And by my left, I have Dr. Njimancho Michael. He is of the civil society, one of the civil society leaders that we have here in Cameroon, precisely here in the economic capital, Douala. Doc, you're welcome.
Thanks so much. It's not, I will not say it's unfortunate I am on your left. Everybody wants to always be on the right. Thanks so much for inviting me, and my greetings to all Cameroonians, and my encouragement to each and every person who is geared for mobilizing towards next year. All of us know the events that is coming up next year, and it is happening more than ever that almost everybody, no one is staying indifferent to that, and everyone is mobilizing for the elections that are coming next year. And I think there is a new wind of change that Cameroonians are beginning again to gain interest in the electoral process, in elections, voters registration in Cameroon. I think it's a year of unstoppable change next year. I encourage all Cameroonians to come together. Those who have ever been discouraged or those who have ever had bad experiences about Cameroon, I think this is the time to rebuild. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you so much. And as you know, our topic of today is directly linked to councils, and we invited the mayor of Tico Council to be part of this program. We are hoping that he will join us soon. So before we dive into our major discussions, we would like to revisit some of the news-making events of this week.
This year in Bayele 2, in Bamenda 3 subdivision of the Northwest region, that police have uncovered an illicit wine factory. On the spot, hundreds of bottles and packaging cartons are awaiting refilling of what the police describes as combination of dangerous substances destined for the wine markets.
Drinks are poisonous because the hygienic conditions are not assembled for before these wines have been produced. So I think for now, this is all I have to say, pending investigations that have already been opened by the Regional Chief of Judicial Police upon my instructions. And by the time we finish the investigation, I think we're going to have other evidence that we'll put before the legal department.
In the course of the search, the factory owner displays documents purportedly signed by concerned public authorities permitting the functioning of the factory.
Even if you are doing an illegal business like this, can't look at that, the bucket of that foolery. Look at how dirty it is. Look at how dirty it is. That's what you give people to drink. But it's so dirty. It's dirty. This is poison that you're giving people to drink.
Of turning a deaf ear and a blind eye to the claims and proceeds with the sealing of the premises and seizing product samples to serve as first-hand evidence in the imminent prosecution process that begins with the arrest of those met at the scene. It is not the first time such discoveries have been made in Bamenda, with wine consumers now contemplating whether or not to continue the consumption.
It is in this house around Tunnel team where this gang coordinates their operation before executing at night. With the help of the stolen bikes, they are said to operate in all corners of the city.
C'est ici qu'ils se retrouvent après leur forfait. Les machettes, tel que vous voyez là.
It was at 1 p.m. on Thursday, April 25th, that the gang was nabbed. This gang is reputed organized gang for terrorizing the city of Douala. A significant quantity of hard drug was also seized.
Ils vendent à longueur de journée. Donc ça veut dire qu'il y a la grande cargaison même quelque part. Oui. Ça c'est qu'ils détaillent. Le magasin.
The apprehension of the gang members was not without resistance as they fought vehemently to escape.
We are sorry for that mix-up in that report, and thanks for joining us here again. And if you are just joining or watching 360 Degrees on Canal International, if you are not in the house, you can equally join us online through YouTube, just by typing Canada International on YouTube. You'll be live watching the program. Emmanuel, you live here in Douala, which is one of the major cities that we have here in Cameroon. What will you paint as a picture of Douala as a city?
Well, in an attempt to answer your question, I'll be forced to take you a bit out of your question to start from the political capital of Cameroon. Sometime last year in August, I visited Yaoundé. And in all sincerity, Yaoundé appears to be the dirtiest town in Cameroon, I must say. You know, when I took the road to Itudi itself,
the Itudi market.
The Itudi market, you know, right to, how did I call this place again? I was shocked. I was with a senior citizen, Ernest Akufo. And of course,
who happens to be the consultant of this program.
Of course,
yes.
I know. That's why I decided to sign him. And we choose to walk for about 20-something minutes. When I looked at Yaoundé and I came back, I started asking myself, when I see our elders or our leaders visiting places like Russia, visiting places like Germany, US, taking selfies. That was the shocking part of it, taking selfies. Which means that they also enjoy the beauty of
such places.
That is to say, if you make a place beautiful for you, your comfort lies within the confines of that area. And I was asking myself, what is stopping these leaders from not just going and taking selfies elsewhere, but from building an immediate beautiful environment
like
where other people can also come to Yaoundé and take selfies and sell it to the world. Because those selfies speak for themselves. It is a window through which other parts of the world discovers your country. Now, coming back to Douala, nobody will argue me. It's true that we don't have a health expert on the platform, but if there was a health expert on the platform, I would have liked to look at the case of Douala from the health perspective. You know, people mostly fall sick in Douala than other towns in Cameroon, given the fact that the climatic condition is first of all very harsh, and given that dirt is the next name. That is, the dirty nature of Douala is the soon name of the economic capital of Cameroon. If you take a look at Douala itself, keep Bonaberi away, which is more of a swampy area. Come to the heart of the town like Aqua. I mean, you discover that the pungent smell, there is no street free of smell of bad scent in Aqua. Go to Bonaberi, to Bonamusadi. That is an area where in the colonial days, we are believing that the white man, like Longe sang it, constructed the first modern houses in Bonamusadi. Today, they are not only abandoned by the walls, they are abandoned even the complete environment. Now, when you take at the root situation and the way at which the encroachment of roads, beer parlors, churches, I say it is alarming. And in all of this, why am I citing Bonamusadi? At one point in time, I took upon myself that I want to meet the city mayor of Douala, because he lives in Bonamusadi.
To make your voice heard.
To make my voice heard. He lives in Bonamusadi. And the dirtiest route in Bonamusadi is almost leading to his quarter. Which means, like you said, one of the mayors is going to be on this studio. We pray that he arrives, so that at least he can clarify us what exactly are they doing. And this can be summarized before you take the microphone, that decentralization has failed. Because if decentralization was a reality, it therefore means that the mayor, his subordinates, the council workers would have had every material means and material opportunity to be able to hem all these ills that we are having in town in terms of disorder.
Thank you. Solomon, you left your house to this office. Did you notice some of these irregularities he's citing?
Certainly, especially that which has to do with roads. So I want to say that, you know, I decided that today I would plead with you that I didn't want to call names, I just want to give the facts, because when we talk about inefficiency, we generally judge whether or not a person is inefficient based on what they do. So let me answer first. You asked when I was coming, when you take the stretch from where I live, I said I didn't want to call names, but perhaps I should call from the university area.
It's important,
Coming up, the road is blocked. Come on. Who even gives the authority? The road is not a personal property. It's ours, it's for everybody. So we had to leave.
Okay, it's blocked by somebody maybe who has an occasion.
Probably. I didn't even try. I told the person who carried me that if it were possible, we would have gone to find out, because this is just what we're talking about. All right, now let me come to so that's something I noticed, which is the disorder we're talking about. The second thing is a quote. I would like us to listen. The doctor will listen as an expert, and then my dear, and you yourself will listen. It's a quote. Listen to what happens, a conversation between my mom and somebody who was crossed, and we will imagine who's at the back of that. She said something, it's in French, and I told her I didn't speak French well, but I'm going to try to take what you're saying. She said, il nous chasse, I am writing because I'm trying to read it. Il nous chasse, on fuit, mais on ne laisse pas. Si on a 5 000 ou 10 000, on le donne. Ça dépend du sac. Si le sac est petit, 5 000, gros, 10 000. On jongle comme ça. On va faire comment? Ils veulent qu'on part où? Même s'ils nous donnent un espace, c'est la tête de quelqu'un qui va partir. Imagine that.
That's
Somebody
serious.
saying, on va faire comment? And they fight with them. They give 5,000, 10,000 francs. Who to? That's the question. So the disorder is apparent, it's obvious, it's evident. Who is to blame? They say when old bones are mentioned, those concerned feel uncomfortable.
Thank you so much. Doc, he just brought us to something. Who can we say is constituting like the major forces of this disorder?
This topic it necessitates that maybe we tackle it really scientifically, Mr. Hyson.
Yes, Doc.
First of all, it will be important for our viewers to know exactly what urban disorder is all about. Because you may go talking about urban disorder, you probably do not know what you mean by urban disorder. And I would like to look at the issue of urban. Urban means something relating to the town or a city.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. And if we talk about word disorder, it means something that it is out of the normal. Yes, meaning that the construction of a city or a town necessitates that there should be some order.
Some order to respect.
Yeah, to respect. And therefore, when this order is not respected, we now begin to put it on another way. There's disorder.
Yes.
Yes. And talking about now the topic, I would like us to, from there, we'll talk about the causes of this disorder, and then at the end, we'll be looking at the solutions that we could bring to the topic. You know, when we were growing up, one of the things that we desired very much was to come to Douala or to go to Yaoundé or to go to Douala, because everybody, from our own side, we used to talk about the coast, going down coast. And you know that there are periods where you come back from Christmas and then, you know, you've got some your nice shoes and all of those. And that what aroused some desires in young people into what we now call rural exodus. Now everybody wants to leave and come to the city. And you know, because people want to enjoy the amenities of the city. They believe that the city has been framed in such a way that there are things like electricity, transportation, all of those things that you want to enjoy. And therefore people want to leave the urban area and flock into the city. And we have had the situation much more alarming in Cameroon in particular, Africa in general, because you have just very few urban areas in Cameroon, or cities in Cameroon. And so many villages, meaning that what? So many people will leave from these villages and they want to come to town. This is already the beginning of disorder, because now the town now begins to contain more people than actually it should. And you now begin to look at issues like, there is an issue when they come, there's an issue of unemployment. When people come to town and they do not have employment, because sometimes you come and tell stories of how the town is, just like we have in the US. Some people go to the US and tell stories how people just live and then there's money everywhere. Now they come to town, there's unemployment. What do? They want to create their own employment. And what happens? Within markets or the street, you find people putting on their small, petty businesses along the roadside. Because they want to create employment for themselves, because they do not have what to live on.
Is it that there's a problem of planning? Our towns are not planned in a way that we should understand that towns are growing?
Even if towns are well planned and the population suffocate that planning, they still have a problem. Yes, talking about town planning, because one of the things that we're talking about is circulation. If you look at Douala, living from the west, northwest, southwest, coming to Douala, and perhaps if you leave from there, you're going to Yaoundé. Or you leave and you come to Douala, and you have to go back to the north, to the southwest or west. You take the same route. You come into the town, you have to take the same route to go back. That's what creates what? Congestion.
Yes, of course.
In really good planning, there should be an outlet whereby when you come in, you don't go back to the same way. You have to go around and get out. So, you see, there is this, actually the issue of lack of planning. I don't know what to call it, lack of planning, or it is poor circulation, or it's poor network, route network. So, and you look at some of these things. The next thing I would like to talk about is, you see, uncontrolled human settlement. Because when you look at the way the routes are framed, and you find the way people also build, you ask yourself, this building has it been planned the way that people are supposed to build? Or so you just get up and you build at any point where you build. That is another question that we're looking at. And then lack of the environmental awareness. Lack of the environmental awareness is also a cause of urban disorder.
Yes, of course.
You've seen many, like we had the issue in Yaoundé where you had the soil clip and all of those. Where people just, in marshy areas, in swampy areas, you just build. That is urban disorder that people don't know about. Why? Because people cannot build in well-planned and solid areas because it's expensive. So, yes.
Yes, maybe I wanted to get to Emmanuel. Okay. Because talking about building anywhere and anyhow, in our localities, when you see somebody starts a building, which is
exactly where I was
maybe wrongly located,
you
see the council comes with a cross, a red cross, and then across the building, meaning they are supposed to stop. But after some few days, you see the same building, the cross has been removed, the building is growing up. What is happening?
Thank you very much. Before I come to your question, I want to let Doc understand something. Cameroon is not the only country where we have rural exodus.
Of course.
That one should be made clear. No matter how scientific we may want to be, there is something staring at us in the eye. That thing is bad governance. And we must agree, all of us, that if any other country in the world, Canada, Ghana, Nigeria, or whatsoever, there is rural-urban migration,
of course,
as well as there is urban-rural migration. People are constantly on a move. So we cannot question urban disorder based on the movement of the people. What we should question here is who is supposed to regulate the movement of the people. That's what we should be talking about. And that person who is supposed to regulate the movement of the people is somewhere. It is a government. That's a fact. You and I can only comment, except otherwise we are given a task for urban planning or to draw up
something and propose.
In a town like Douala, I'll be sincere with you that there are quarters here that have encroached into routes mapped by the same government, and the houses have been erected. Nothing has been done. And these houses are owned by the big wigs in the country. That's one. Two, the question you're asking, you asked a question, the councils have proven, like I said somewhere, in a quest to fight corruption in Cameroon, if we must succeed, we must take off our eyes from the presidency, the ministries, the general directors, and we start from the councils where the basis of corruption are planted as we speak right now. Those are one of the most corrupt structures in this country as of now. And if CONAC was to actually do its work, let CONAC start from the roots.
Are you saying that CONAC is not doing its work?
No, I'm telling you CONAC has not been doing anything. And CONAC, if CONAC was to be effective, its effectiveness would have been proven at the level of the council. That is where the serious investments, I say it and I'm taking responsibility, because what you just asked there, what explains the fact that somebody starts a house today, the council runs there, they put a placard, stop work by maybe Bamenda City Council, Douala City Council. In the next 3 days, the same structure, the foundation has not been shifted, the walls have not been broken, but the roof have been placed. Which means that somehow, somewhere, the language that is best understood by all Cameroonians, of course, which is bribery and corruption, has happened. The brown envelope has exchanged hands. And that, to a greater extent, has killed Cameroon. I left one program one day and received a call from African Union member confirming that what we said about a certain route, which I will not call in Yaoundé, that the original plan that the branch of the African Union was supposed to sponsor was to be two-way lane out and two-way lane in. But unfortunately, when they came for supervision, they saw one-way lane in out and one in, which confirms that what we have in Cameroon on papers always do not end up as what is in practical. But before you end it, something he talked about civil awareness, which I tie in with incivility of Cameroonians. He will bear witness. Last Saturday when we left our CCS meeting, a Zakam was stationed somewhere, 3 of them. They worked for 4 hours to clean that place. Do you know what happened? Immediately the last Zakam was going. It was a father who came with a wheelbarrow through that day. I was there with Professor Mark Akumbo. We held that man and we told him that you are not leaving this place. Until you have to sweep it with your hands. Of course. That served a lesson to onlookers who rallied to see how it was going to end. At the end, the man had to remove money and pay for it to be carried. So I agree in total that the incivility of Cameroonians and environmental awareness plays a very big blow in promoting this urban disorder.
Thank you so much. Solomon, he just made mention of something, and we see it so often. That at times you even see Isakam trying to remove debt, and then you see somebody comes to urinate while Isakam is even walking. That kind of behavior, we'll not blame it now on the mayors and the government.
Brilliant. We won't, because at the end of the day, he equally mentioned something important, that a father came and threw dirt.
Yes.
So
we see that so often.
Exactly. So I think at the end of the day, we need to ourselves, it's our country. We need to make sure that we, first of all, we will not expect the mayor or we will not expect the, I don't know, hierarchy to come and do certain things for us. It's true. If someone said if gold should rust, what would iron do? Yes, there may be regulations which aren't implemented to the letter, but then sensitization should go on, and then let's be conscious and know that if, like in that father's case, you come and throw dirt, first of all, you're doing harm to yourself. Please, may I pause here to say something? Under the doctor's direction, because he's got a lot, he knows a lot about what we're talking, I know. So, an expert in this dirt control, if I can say so, says that when dirt stays a lot, sometimes the liquid from it can even affect the tar.
Of course.
That means that if you're doing harm, you think you're doing it to yourself or to others, but it's also to yourself, because when the roads get bad, it affects all of us.
Thank you so much. If you are watching us, you can contribute through the numbers you have on your screen, WhatsApp or SMS, and then you put your messages short and straight to the point, and we shall read it out here. Gentlemen, permit me, let's take this report on one of the elements of urban disorder, and then we shall be right back. Okay.
The accident occurred when the reckless rider attempted to navigate through the herd of cars, leading to a collision with an oncoming truck. Unfortunately, one person died on the spot, with another seriously injured.
The driver was on the side post, so the cars get in the road. The driver was like trying to dodge those cars, while the bike man that was carrying this brother here, there were two of them on the bike, and he got the bad side.
This alarming trend has prompted the local population to voice their concerns on the uncontrolled movement of cars in the city. Cars roaming freely without proper control measures has become a common occurrence. They say they are being assured. How can someone insure one car and it's 150 cars that covers the whole city? Animals are not meant to live in town. They are supposed to be in the bush. Airport gendarmerie officers were there to carry out investigations to identify the deceased, while the injured was transported to a medical facility for treatment.
Thank you for that report, Christy. Doc, last week a truck had to hit a train on the railway here in Douala, Japoma to be precise. This week we are witnessing an accident with a cow involved, a bike, and a truck. Again, how did we get here?
Yes, as I said, despite the fact that sometimes the government has its own responsibility, I think the citizens too need to also take up their own responsibility seriously. Because when you die or you have an accident, it is not the government who counts and accounts for. The issue is there are a lot of psychological trauma in people, You get up in the morning, you are thinking about what the family has to eat. You have not even eaten the last night, and you are thinking about the difficulties of the day. Per head capital. I mean, the income that people are supposed to have Cameroonians hardly have a full meal a day, and you realize that sometimes you find somebody riding a bike, a young guy riding a bike, but his mind is very kilometers away because he is not where he is. He is lost. And he is wondering. And given to the fact that the authorities, because I'm still on the causes of all this urban disorder,
yes.
You see the laxity too from the authorities. You know, people are not doing their job. Everybody is looking on how to extort from another person. An authority, you know, a security officer comes out of his house in the morning and goes to work, and is thinking about what he's going to bring back home out of his salary during that day. And these are some of the things, and this makes them not to do their jobs very well, because you realize that even though I'm not in my state of mind, sometimes the security officer can put me in the right sense of mind at one moment. But what happens? If I'm able to give him a 500 francs, I give my way, I give my madness the way I want to get out of it. And that is what some of the things that are happening. So you see, there is quite a lot that is happening. Now, and I said, see, Mr. You made an example of chewing debt and all of those things. You see, there's like this Ghanaian writer, Ayimkwe Ama, who wrote the Beautiful Ones and You're Born. You see, somebody, you see a signboard where it is written, keep your country clean, keep your city clean by keeping your country clean. And there is a signboard where you have to throw your debt in the dustbin. But you see the dustbin empty, but around the dustbin, it is where the debt.
Yes.
This depicts what? The psychological feud that people have. So you find that there is a lot that people are going through. Go to inside quarters, because people will have the temptation of only blaming the government. Go inside quarters and see the way people construct and help people construct their wastes and all of those. I mean, the field in the quarter, and nobody says anything. Everybody seems comfortable with the field. Why? Because most people are coming from zones where we do not know what we call enlightenment. And that's why I was talking about my issue of rural, urban, migration. Because people need to be educated. Imagine coming from a village where you use pit toilets. Now you come to town where you have to use the wastes, the water system and all of those. There are a lot of things that change.
But Doc, there are people who were born in town and they are still involved in this. It's not about those coming from the village.
Yeah, and I've said most of these things is, you know, there's a lot of psychological trauma that people are going through. That you come out of your house and you do not care, you care less. That disorder stems from what? It stems from the fact that you feel you are angry with another person. Like here Cameroonians say, it is Yaoundé, it is Yaoundé, it is Yaoundé. When you look at the accident, it is not Yaoundé causes the accident. It is you are responsible for what happens to you each day. When you get out of your house and you are not able to control your psychological disorder or your mind, what happens? You run into those kind of things. We know exactly, Mr. Hayson, we know exactly that our country has put us in a very, very tight corner where most people are uncomfortable. But one of the things that you have to do is there is a responsibility of the citizen that he has to do in his home, in his quarter, and in his municipality. And therefore, when you say you walk around and you see death, each person, you don't need to be educated on the fact that environment is dirty. All of us are born to understand what a dirty environment is all about. All of us are born to know that there is danger somewhere else. When you speed on your bike or in your taxi, you just speed around. One of the things you do is you're only putting yourself at risk. You're putting the other person who is with you at risk. And therefore, we need to take responsibility for all of this.
Thank you so much, Doc. Before I come to you, Emmanuel, we have many messages, but let me just pick one. Hi, good afternoon to the panelists in the studio. Our problem in rising urban disorder is first to be blamed on the government. I am Toban, watching from Nonin Court. Emmanuel, there is one very important factor when it comes to this urban disorder now. The commercial motorbike riders. How are they contributing to all this? Because it seems we have all categories of bike riders now in our major cities.
You know, that question has pushed me to unveil another casket on which I'm putting. You know, I'm the Secretary General of New Era Youth for Africa, NEA.
Yes.
And the first project that NEA ever invested on was on the education and equipment of the bike riders. That is for their protection and that of their passengers, because it's a very lucrative domain.
Yes.
Given that we are caught in a situation where we don't have jobs. And some of these people, when we are talking to them, it's very difficult. I must tell you, a lot of them feel with anger. You know, most of them ride these bikes for the whole day. They don't have time to rest. At the end of the night, they use the very motorbike to sleep on it as their bed.
Yes, I've seen that in Douala, yeah.
Yes, from the statistics I gathered so far, just making a sample out of 18 of them, not up to 11 had houses where they were properly renting and living in. You can imagine.
Yeah.
That internal frustration already defeats the fear of death. You know, at one point they say there's a kind of frustration that defeats the fear of death. When you are frustrated to a certain point, death is the last thing you can ever be afraid of. And that's exactly where these boys are found in, a situation where their frustration has defeated the fear of anything called death, or even the prison or whatsoever. So, but some of us who are able to go down to the field and talk to them, we keep giving them reason to live rather than dying. Because if you die because there's a bad road, like Doc said a while ago, it is not the government to come among you. Your family is losing. If you die because you were overspeeding, it is you are gone. We are living, we are talking, we'll keep talking. So, but my worry with the commercial motorbikes is that in as much as I'm struggling to continue with that project, not leaving out the fact that that's the coordinator of even that organization, we keep telling them to transform this sector to a positive sector where the government can put a path on your back. Your conduct must be canalized. Because, without lying to you, if robbery attacks 10 takes place in an urban area, 8 were facilitated by the motorbikes. Let's be sincere. 8 were facilitated by this guy. And so, it's a huge task. It's a huge task that we are still thinking of how to meet. We are wishing to meet the Minad boss in the Desai and other ministers to actually factor into this sector, because left to us alone, we will not go half miles in bringing down the problems that this sector can pose to the country. And you know, they have become vulnerable to crime. In the least error where there is a case where they can profit to come in and create disorder, they seize it without notification. So you can imagine.
And they have this negative solidarity where...
they have negative solidarity where none of them is ever wrong. Once one of them is caught in a trap, all of them are behind him without finding out whether he was right or he was wrong. So it's actually... I think that should be another topic for another day.
It's another topic for another day. And just to cue up, when the head of state decreed that commercial motorbike riders should operate in the country, I don't think this was the picture he was seeing at that time. Does it mean that some people somewhere did not take the relay to coordinate the sector?
You've said something important, that definitely when the decree was passed, the picture was certainly positive and objective.
Of course.
Yeah. But then we think that there is a problem of, coordination, and then relaying and making sure that they have a good mind frame or mindset to run their activities well.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Let's take this message. Unfortunately, the person has not signed it. I would like to say that cows should be kept in a particular area. I think this is because it is unheard of that you get to major towns like Yaoundé and Douala, and then at every given time you can see cows loitering around. So now, Doc, you were talking about Yaoundé or Douala being overcrowded, but we have cities in other countries that are more crowded than Yaoundé or Douala. There is one major issue, especially with these motorbike riders. He made mention of protection. If you go to Kigali in Rwanda, you see every motorbike rider has a helmet for himself and a helmet for the passenger he's carrying. But here, we have most of them, they don't even know that they should have a driver's license. They don't even feel that they should protect themselves. They don't even feel that they should protect the passengers they are carrying. How do we go from there?
Yes, one of the things that we have to understand about the motorbikes and the lackadaisical way in which they go about, the government doesn't even seem to care very much because, you know, these motorbike guys are being used for political reasons sometimes. And therefore...
You think so?
Yes. And sometimes the government doesn't want to overhammer on them. This is a fact. That if you want to overhammer, especially at this period of elections coming, the government will not want to set some rules that will jeopardize them from using them during, at the right time when it comes. This is one of the things. And that is one of an issue which is actually putting down that reinforcement of law and order on them. Because when you make mention of Kigali, it's because there is enforcement of law and order. I talked here about laxity from the authorities. That laxity is planned. That laxity is premeditated. That laxity is something that is not haphazard. It is something that is innate, is something that is actually built. So I think one of the things that we have to do is to accept, if we really want to regularize things, then we have to be able to let things happen the way they are supposed to happen, irrespective of who the guys are. If today, you remember at one moment in Douala, the highest owner of bikes, like in Douala 5, was a former mayor. Maybe you don't know, the late Madame Foni. He was the one controlling the bikes. I mean, and why was she controlling? That was the mayor. Do you know why was controlling? Because she knew that she needed them always during elections. People didn't know that. And therefore, each time a bike rider had a problem, he ran to her and she solved the matter immediately. And so how was he solving the matter? Just making a phone call and say, leave that. Not even educating them. He made mention about the NEA, New Era Youth for Africa, which I happen to be the coordinator, where one of the things that we partnership with the Ministry of Youth was to actually talk to these guys and make them civically responsible. Because it's not just about talking to them and giving them helmets. You need to bring them back to rebuild that citizen and civic responsibility in them. If not, they'll go gaga. That is one of the things. How civic are these bike riders? Or imagine, have you taken a bike in the morning, or and then you're getting, and then the way this guy threw insults, it shows you that most of them come out from very far and from big troubles. We are even just talking about urban disorder in terms of even bike riders. We have had people open bars and churches.
Of course.
That is noise pollution too. That's disorder. Whereby in Cameroon, when you put an application to open an up license or a bar whatsoever, after 24 hours, if it's not granted, you are free to open. If you put an application to open a church, after 12 hours, let me not even say 24 hours, if it is not granted, you open your church. Do you know why that is being, why this is happening in Cameroon? No. Because you know those are things that control the brains of Cameroonians. And therefore, it brainwashes them, and then somebody is sitting there quietly, you know that it has little problems now, since people are not able to revindicate.
Are you saying that someone somewhere is happy about all this?
Of course, someone as much as people are not asking for their rights. You know that one of the things about rights of citizenship, when you know that you are being oppressed, when you come back to the oppressed people and you really want them to come to an awareness of them, the first thing that you make an oppressed person know is about his rights. Immediately an oppressed person knows about his rights, he now begins to know that, okay, I can even revindicate, I can be a rebel. And a rebel is better than a coward. That's how it is said in modern world.
Emmanuel, somebody said somewhere that if you are well cultured, once you get into the Cameroonian routes, either on your bike or in your car, you end up learning insults.
Yes.
Is that what obtains?
And another person said, no matter how responsible a citizen is in a country with an irresponsible government, the citizen ends up being irresponsible. Look, we have to be placing responsibilities where it belongs. The government of Cameroon, of course, which has failed in many domains to the greater extent, has been pampering failed citizens because a failed father cannot fail to pamper a failed child. We are talking about routes today. You know, recently there are people who have been taken to court. I don't want to cite the area. Here in Douala, the matter is in court. Yes. You know why? No. Because they came out and took upon themselves to arrange a road around the area that have been dilapidated for a long time. The matter is in court now. How do you now blame the citizens? This route and the insults we are talking about comes back to what Doc says a while ago. These bike guys is like their insults are already just on their lips. They just look at it, just come out. They don't use any energy again before they don't need any energy for the insult to come out. They have just selected and put. They just press automatic. It comes out. It comes back. When you hear how some of the ministers come out and speak in public in Cameroon, it gives you an idea that there is no difference between a badly brought up citizen and a badly seated or badly nominated minister in Cameroon. Because how do you expect, a minister is supposed to be liked, but when a minister comes out with hate speech, it now makes me to feel like the bike rider and such authorities, they do not really have a reason. So what I'm saying is like the problem of Cameroon is spiritual, because it starts from up and then it narrows down to the person who was supposed to take good examples from up. So we have a huge task ahead of us. And this huge task, we need to take different ways. I think every ministry in Cameroon need to create a colloquium where sensitization at all angles is done, beginning from them who are up there. Let's not only talk about bike riders. Like, he talked the case of Madame Foni. In the time of Madame Foni, there were bike riders in Douala who had powers. The bike riders presidents of the association had powers more than the brigade commanders. Let's be honest. And some police commissioners, because they knew where the calls were coming from. And that call could not come and any brigade commander resist the call. So it's a collective effort. It's a collective problem that needs collective effort and collective responsibility, because we are giving birth to children today. Just imagine we allow all these things to go unchecked and our children comes up to inherit such. Then Cameroon remains a shame.
Thank you so much. Solomon, there is this phenomenon of council police. Day in, day out, we hear them getting into confrontations with the bike riders and the traders in the market.
Yeah.
Are they rather a trade instead of being a regulator of the situation?
Paradoxically, that's what appears to be, which shouldn't be. They ought to be folks who regulate, not a threat. You know, and then I think when you call their name, I got our man say, hey,
he exclaimed,
hey, something of the sort. So I think that's the paradox. But I also think that they need to, because I think the past week or days behind, it's been over-talked about. So we need to see, they need to see how, you know, they can work on that, because at the end of the day, we want to build our nation. We want to work positively to achieve their things.
And when their violence meets with the, how do I put it, the uncultured nature of some of the bike riders, it gives the result of what we had in Yaoundé the other day, where a council police was chasing a bike rider, and then he ended up getting into a truck, and 2 of them died at the spot.
It's quite disheartening. So I think the root cause of all that, Doctor mentioned a number of things. They need to be, because one of the causes, as people say, is that they have not had enough education as to what they've got to do. Education is very important.
Yes, and the issue of bribery and corruption comes back again, because we have areas in Douala and Yaoundé where it is clear that motorbikes are not supposed to go there. It is clear, like in Bonanjo here in Douala, the central town in Yaoundé. But you see the same municipal police permitting some bike riders to go there. And then are they like pushing the others to the wall? Like, why should others go there and I don't go? Because they tend to permit those they know. I don't know how they know them. Maybe they know them in quote through some kind of pocket motivation.
That's what we're talking about. I talked about law enforcement, whereby somebody is not doing his job. People are refused to do their job because they think about the personal aggrandizement. Sometimes there is this statement, a famous statement by a writer, Ngungi wa Tiongo, chop, country spoil. That is the issue. People sit here and say, they are eating in Yaoundé. What is mine to here in Douala or in other towns? And therefore, what people look at principally is what comes to them personally and what they will take home. And therefore, that's why they are able to break the laws. And what applies to you, Hyson, may not probably apply to me. You have your network, and you see, you come here, you pass, even if there's you are forbidden, actually, and another person comes and he doesn't. And then you ask yourself, what is happening? This is what we call in Cameroon a network réseaux. That if you are in the network and you have the network, everything is possible for you. And that disorder goes on and on. Even in terms in the ministries in Yaoundé, in the finance and all of those. If you're a government worker, you understand that to benefit from some of even your allowances, you need to pay money. You need to get into the result and pay money and give a quarter of it to somebody. And it is not accounted for before you have what is yours. That is what is happening even within the regions and with the law enforcement officers, whereby you have a law enforcement officer who takes your car documents. What he does is he opens just the middle of the document. He knows already that you have put something. So it is a kind of a cabal, you know. It's a planting. It is well planned. So in such a way, even the driver knows exactly what he's supposed to do. The driver knows that it is not his document that the secretary always looking at. He's looking at what is in the middle of the thing. He takes and then offers, so your documents are clean. That is what happened. And what have happened is that unfortunately, those who suffer most in Cameroon are those who want to do the right things. Now, when you want to do the right thing, they ask you, tu penses que tu es qui? Tu penses que tu es qui? Tu veux nous montrer quoi? That is what happens. Because you want to do the right thing. Because you want to be different. You want to follow what is supposed to be. Now you suffer now the consequences of trying to be the right person.
Yes.
Okay. Look,
I saw you nodding your head when you talked about that.
He's touched the point. It's very it's paradoxical that you want to do the right thing instead of you.
And then
being
people see you like a black leg.
Like a black. Yes. May I use this opportunity to say something? First of all, I want to say that law is only law when it has a common character. That's to say, if doctor knows that if he does what's not correct, he will be sanctioned. Let Solomon not feel that he's above the law.
Of course.
Right. He should know. I mean, law is only when it has a common character. But when we are in a situation like this woman said at the beginning, that mother asked her, c'est qui ma fille? He said, ceux qui gèrent le pays, ceux qui gèrent notre pays, no? Come on. So I said, it's really not a good thing. And I wish this may not really be a big one, but it's important, it's disorder.
Of course.
Linguistic disorder. You know, sometimes we witness, even on the media, like I was with some folks and we got to a place just because the person spoke English and the other responded in French, it became an issue of kind of what is English, what is French. So we don't want that. It's a kind of disorder which is subtle, but it disrupts our peace.
Of course.
And that's why we've taken the initiative to make sure that a place, but Canal 2 should be applauded because we got here in the morning and when we spoke English, even if the person didn't know, they said, well, je ne comprends pas, but wants to speak.
In a polite manner.
Was receptive.
Yes,
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Emmanuel, at this point, what do we need more? Is it the reinforcement of the mechanisms of the change of mindset of Cameroonians?
Both. The two need to go simultaneously. Because if we change mechanisms and we remain with the same mindset, we are going nowhere. If we have a good mindset and we have wrong mechanisms, we are going nowhere. So the two needs to work together. And for the two to succeed, Cameroonians should know that they are the employers of the state. The government are the employees of the citizens. I bring in the theory of one of my friends in Boya, the theory of the bounty citizens. When the citizens retire from their rights and they forget that they are the employers and the government is their employee, that is where we are going nowhere. So, in effect, every normal Cameroonian needs to start holding the government accountable. But then, before you dare raise a finger to hold the government, ask your question. In my home, right in my quarter, in my village, in my town, in my city, what have I done to contribute to urban order? What have I done to dispel urban disorder. If you have not done anything, then you be quiet. You have any right to be silent. But for those who have been doing something, they have every right to use their energy and shout at the top of their voices. And I insist, before you raise your finger, ask yourself, is my doorstep clean? Is my quarter clean? Do I respect Thursday, which is keep Douala clean? Because where we come from in Bamenda, in the days of the sanitary, some of you people, maybe who grew behind us, might not have witnessed it. When we grew up, and it gave a lot of applause, and I take this opportunity to greet Mr. Egnor Abrams Egbe, somebody who worked for Boyo until today. He remains in record. In the days of the sanitary department, in the whole of, maybe call it Anglophone Cameroon, Southern Cameroon, we knew that there was a particular day that your compound was to be clean, no grass found around the compound. Good. So we need to go back to the drawing board and we need to revisit those old days, those old practices that kept us free from diseases.
Thank you. I'll be coming back to you. He just made mention of something. There are days in Yaoundé or in Douala, in every neighborhood set aside for cleaning. But the paradox is, people lock their shops, they come back and still open the shops when they have not cleaned anything. Who are we fooling?
That is what I'm talking about. You see, people take those days as their day for sports. You see, that on a Thursday morning, you are supposed to open at some 10, and you know that, okay, on Thursday morning, either it's a day that I have to sleep longer, or I get up and go for sports, and then you just wait for 10 o'clock to go open your shop. And two, it's not only them fooling themselves, but there is also those who are in charge of the control mechanism. That why do you put Thursday a cleaning out campaign day and then you don't go around to check? People should be checked. They should be checked and balanced.
Of course.
That you will come here at my office and I've opened my office at 11 or 12 o'clock and you find the place dirty, something should be done. But of course, you know what happens? They actually, some of them are coming for their own personal gains. That when you come and meet someone, he gives us something, a brown envelope at the back, and that is what happens. So I think we need to have that change of mentality to know that once you think that you are doing anything bad for the government, who is the government in the first place? Someone talk about Who is that We are the That is what you have to let people know, that we are the day that they are talking about.
No, but the issue is that if you take Cameroon like a classroom, right? Whenever the teacher is not in class, the children tend to do whatever they like, which boils back to the issue of follow-up to see if...
I usually say that Cameroonians are more of teachers, lecturers, than even those who do. Because even look at the bike riders. Have you taken a bike and then you're going around? The bike man complains about the other bikes even more than, but he don't, in front of you, he's
doing the same thing.
But he complains about others more than. It's just that that's what Cameroonians they do. They complain more about the issues in Yaoundé. Meanwhile, within them, in their small community, I mean, in the nucleus that they have, they are worse than even the government in Yaoundé.
Thank you, Solomon. At this point, what do you think the councils can do differently to be able to curb the situation?
Well, we won't reinvent the wheel. I think we've oversaid it. What they can do differently is to reinforce, you know, their efforts to be not blind guides, but people who teach by action. You know, make sure that when you say something, you follow up. It's always important when people know that they are being followed up. Yeah, that's right.
Emmanuel, this may be your last word.
Yes, cleanliness should be next to holiness. And if we must maintain and sustain cleanliness, it has to start from our immediate environment, because charity begins at home. And let me venture into the question that you're asking.
Yes.
What the council should be doing now is, I propose a strong partnership between the councils, the primary schools, and the secondary schools, where a lot of sensitization will be done so that these children adopt and inculcate the spirit of cleanliness. And because, you know, these children at a tender age, what enters their brain, which is still soft, remains forever.
Yes.
So the government and through the councils should strike a partnership deal with the primary schools, the secondary schools, and why not universities, so that it becomes a habit in our school milieu that things like waste disposal and waste management In fact, we have a lot to do here.
Thank you so much, Doc. In less than 30 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. I would like, in as much as it is a right of everyone, is a UN universal human right to move. I mean, movement should not be forbidden. I think this issue of rural-urban migration can be cut. I mean, can be controlled, regulated by the government actually setting some of these things back in the village. You know, there is what we call the push and the pull factors. What is the pull factor that brings the people to town? It should also be things like you set employment. Let those kind of facilities also be sent to the villages. And secondly, you saw how people are even living the country. I think that some of these things we need to establish them within the community. There should be education. The people need a lot of education to know that, okay, if tomorrow I err, it means that it's not because I didn't know, but it's because I deliberate and premeditated did what I did.
Thank you so much, Doc. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. Unfortunately, we will not be able to take the many messages that we have here. We thank you so much for watching, and do not forget, we are talking about urban disorder. Do not forget to play your own little part at your own little corner to make sure that we have the cities that we so much desire to see. Thanks for watching, and see you next Saturday once it is 12:30 p.m. And don't forget to watch the rebroadcast of this program if you miss out on anything on Wednesday at 11 p.m. Bye-bye.